It could be trying to go up the ladder in a sense of making yourself being recognized in whatever situation that you find yourself in. And people normally use any means. It could be spiritual means, any means that they find possible to do. But Balak was a type who will accept bribe or anything, as long as you can impress him in certain ways. You can get away with anything. He will leak information, but he was actually seen as a prophet of God or Jehovah. He's somebody that naturally he's got a talent where God speaks through him. Jehovah speaks through him. And so in this sense, he was being used in a false way, in sort of, he sort of allowed himself to become fraudulent in his ways or his dealings through whichever means. He's like an open man. As long as he's getting something out of you, that's it, And so Balaam being used here was a storyline where the Balak, who was then the Israeli, he was what do you call it? A Moabite king, I think. It was like a Moabite. Balak was like a Moabite who was the leader of the Moabite, and he saw what the Israelites have done to the Ammonites. So being a Moabite, he sort of then is best to find ways to curse the Israelis. So then the only prophet there, or the prophet there at that time, that you can do such a conniving thing with, such a fraudulent thing, is Balaam. So he went to Balaam and he told his servant to bring Balaam to him and pay some money to Balaam. So Balaam, he'll give a very great reward. And Balaam will accept anything, so that he cursed the Jews, so that they will not be able to, overpower his people, or sort of win over him, or somehow, become victorious when it comes to that, when there is a war between the Moabites and the Israelites. And Balaam accepted all that. He accepted. If you read the story, it's Numbers 22. Numbers 22, all through. And if you read verse 9, he says, in verse 9, he says, then God came to Balaam and said, why are these men with you? God was inquiring. He knew. He should know. He's all-knowing God. But here he's asking, why are they with you? And so Balaam said to God, Balak, the son of Zippor, king of Moab, has sent to me, saying, look, a people has come out of Egypt, and they cover the face of the earth. Come now, curse them for me. Perhaps I shall be able to overpower them and drive them away. He wants them to curse the Israelis for them, so they stand on a mountain somewhere to do that. So that was the reason. And Balaam, being an honest prophet, knowing the abilities of God, every spiritualist know the ability, the power that he serves, or the power that he sort of uses or depend on. So he will not dare think about lying to his God, or the spirit God or Jehovah coming to him. So when Jehovah spoke, or he sort of confessed the truth, what has happened. And he's like dedicated his life willingly to be used by the Spirit to do anything. So he's there. But if he's in his full sense of being a man, he's also ready to accept any offer that you bring him. So he's a two-faced man, somebody who is double-minded in so many ways. And I'm sure Jehovah or the Spirit knew. Now, Balaam then goes and then he sort of do the cursing. And instead of doing the cursing as he prophesied to, he's been asked to do that. He ends up blessing them. Because when he goes there, and what Balak told him to do when he get there, he also told Balak that whatever God put to my mouth is what I will say. So when he get there, he says, bless the Jewish people. He put all those blessed words to them. And if the Jews get blessed in that sense, and the Moabites feared greatly, because they know the Jews will win if it comes to battle. And then Balak would take Balaam away. He said, I told you to curse them, and then you are blessing them. So he had issues with Balak. Balaam and Balak had issue over that. But Balaam said, I told you what will happen, that if I go there and God put to my mouth words that will bless them, that's what I will say. And so when things were not working out, then Balaam had to suggest another alternative to the king of Balak. So he sort of, in verse 14, he says, and now indeed I am going to my people. Come, I will advise you what his people will do to your people in the latter days. So he took up his oracle and said, he sort of gave the advice to him what will happen. And he altered all the things. Entrance of Balaam, the son of Boa, and the entrance of the man whose eyes are opened, the entrance of him who hears the words of God, and his knowledge of the Most High, who sees the vision of the Almighty. He falls down with eyes wide open. I see him, but not now. I behold him, but not near. A star shall come out of Jacob. A scepter shall rise out of Israel, and better the brow of Moab, and destroy all the sons of Temoit. And Edom shall be a possession. Seir also, his enemy, shall be possession, while Israel does valiantly. Out of Jacob one shall have dominion and destroy the remains of the city. It was like giving them prophetic words, but he also has to advise them of how they will be able to overcome all that. Now along these lines somewhere, along this line there, in the book, in this same, Balaam had to then advise Balak that the only way he can overcome the Jews was to sort of use his female women, or use the women of the Moabite women, and to entice them, to be with them, to sleep with them, in order to sort of overcome them, because it's an abomination for them to sleep with outsiders. And so, that was the only thing. And so, the only advice that he ended up giving to the king to sort of apply was that and Balaam did whatever was necessary. So he gave those advices, and then he left. The zeal of Phinehas, that's chapter 25. In 26, it says the second census of Israel. And it goes on to 27, the law of inheritance. These are numbers. The numbers, the Bible book, the book of Numbers. I think the fourth book of Moses said, the daily Sabbath and monthly offerings. We have offerings at the regular feast. Now, these are all laws that gives you an idea of most of what we have come out of, or what Christians have come out of, or what people, a whole generation has come out of. We are not without any, we have every link towards these traditions or culture or whatever religious thing that was going on, to looking at what we have to what we are today. So we have to look into it something will be familiar to you here and there as I keep pointing a few things up, because we've been skipping through to